Hi guys, welcome back to another English lesson. I hope you're all good. Today's lesson is going to be about our assessment that we completed. So can you please make sure that you have your assessment from the 15th of January? If you can't find it, email me and I can send you a copy of it. And if you didn't manage to complete the assessment, email me and I will send you a model version that you can use for today's lesson. Pause the video and make sure that you have a copy of the assessment before we move on. Okay, if you're back, that means you have your assessment in front of you or a copy that I have sent you. And that means that you are ready to copy down our title, our date, and our learning objective, which is feedback on our assessment, particularly focusing on embedding our quotations. So pause the video now and copy the title, date, and learning objective down, please. Okay, if you're back, that means you're ready to complete the do now task. I would like you to answer these 5 questions in full sentences, please. So the first 3 ask you to recall the steps of our paragraph. Question 4, you need to write 3 adjectives to describe Bill when we first meet him. And number 5 is, when does Bill feel panicked and weak in the novel? Pause the video and complete these sentences now in full. Okay, if you're back, let's make some purple pen corrections. Give it a tick if you got it right. If you got it wrong, just give it a cross, but make sure that you get the correct answer down. So, our first step is our point, our second step is our quote, and our third step is our explanation. We should be really good at remembering this now. Number 4, I've listed quite a few different adjectives: brutal, dirty, animalistic, violent, crazy, threatening. You only needed to write down 3, but make sure that you have 3 really, really good ones. And if any of these here stand out to you, maybe jot those down as well. Number 5, Bill feels panicked and weak in the novel when he kills Nancy and tries to escape from the police. Pause the video now and make any corrections that you need to. Okay, so let's go through some feedback for your assessments. I'm going to get in touch with you individually to share your marks, your actual scores, but there are some things that we need to talk about as a whole class that we can do better. But before we do that, we need to focus on our WWWs. And if you remember, that stands for what went well, the things that we did good, the things that we showed how much we've learned in lessons and those skills that we have been working on since the beginning of our time together. So, what did actually go well? Every single one of you was able to write a clear point about Bill Sikes' character to answer the question. There was also a great selection of quotes that you picked out from the extract that supported your main point. That means that if you said that Bill Sikes is a threatening character, your quote showed that Bill Sikes is threatening. There was also some really strong attempts to explain quotations, and this was excellent because we only learnt this a couple of weeks ago just before the assessment. So that means that all of you engaged with that lesson really, really well, and you showed me that you can do that, and that's really, really great. So good job. All right, so this is an example from someone in our class, and it's great. So I just took a snippet of it and I popped it on the screen here, because what you're going to do in a minute is you're going to go back to your assessment and you're going to highlight where you have written a clear point, a relevant quote, and then an explanation of your quote. Before you do that, I'm going to show you how to do this based on this example, so then you can match the same process on your assessment. So let's read it first of all. Tickins presents Bill Sikes as bad when Bill took a hold of her arm and squeezed it. It would be bad because it hurts Nancy, and it also shows that Bill is a very violent person. We're just going to ignore this bit here because it's part of a new sentence and that's not our focus. So I'm going to get my highlighters. So first of all, we need to highlight where there is a clear point. My clear point is Dickens presents Bill Sikes and then an idea as bad. That's my point. Next up, we have a relevant quote. This person chose this quote, and you can easily identify the quotes because they have these speech marks here that indicate that this is a quotation. So we have Bill took a hold of her arm and squeezed it, which is excellent. And then we have the final step, which is an explanation of your quote, which shows how your quote supports your idea. This person has says it would be bad because, and then he explains that it hurts Nancy and it shows that Bill is a very violent person. So what you need to do now is pause the video and do the same thing for each of your paragraphs in your assessment. Highlight where you have a clear point, highlight your quote, and then highlight your explanation. If you're the person whose example is on the screen right now, then all you have to do is copy this down, which makes your job easier. So pause the video and make sure you're highlighting each of these steps now, please. Okay, if you're back, that means that your paragraphs look something like this, with all of your lovely highlighting. So now we know what we did well, we need to talk about EBI, even better if, things that we can improve. So our EBI is focusing on embedded quotations, making sure that they are fully embedded. And to do that, we need to make sure we use this flowchart. Remember, the first step is to explain what is happening when the quotation takes place. The second step is to mention who says the quotation, if it's a piece of speech, or if it's a piece of description, who it's about. And the third step is to write the quotation so that it is part of your sentence. Your quotation should never just be a sentence on its own. It needs number 1 and number 2 to make it clear. So let's have a look at some examples. We're going to think about which 2 steps from our flowchart are these embedded quotes missing. So here are some examples that I pulled from some of your writing. Number 1, to Nancy, Bill took hold of her arm and squeezed it. Number 2, it says Bill reached across the table for Fagin's neck. Number 3, he is a violent person when he says, "Keep quiet, girl." All of these quotes are correct. All 3 of these quotes show that Bill is a violent, angry, and a horrible person. But the way that they are written isn't fully accurate. Each of these are missing 2 steps in our flowchart. Step 1, step 2, or step 3. So what I would like you to do is pause the video now and just spend a couple of seconds or a minute or so, however long you need, figuring out if each of these examples follow each step. So, number 1, you want to ask yourself, does it explain what is happening when the quotation takes place? Does it explain who says the quote or who is it about? And does the quotation blend in as part of the sentence? And then you want to ask yourself the same questions for 2, and you want to ask yourself the same questions for 3. Pause the video and do that now, please. Okay, if you're back, that means you have figured out, hopefully, which 2 steps these embedded quotes are missing. So now what I would like you to do is complete this sentence starter below to explain what each quote is missing. So these quotes are all missing step, and then you want to write the numbers in, so here and here, because they do not write, and then you need to explain what it's missing, and then another thing that it's missing. So 2 numbers here, and then the 2 actual things that they are missing. You can use the flowchart to help you with this. Pause the video and complete the sentence data below now, please. Okay, if you're back, that means you are ready to mark this sentence using your purple pen to make any corrections. So these quotes are all missing step 1 and step 2 because they do not write what is happening when the quote takes place and who says the quote or who it is about. Number 1, number 2, and number 3 all miss step 1 and step 2. So pause the video now and make any corrections to your sentence if you need to. Okay. Now we've identified what these quotes are missing, we need to improve them. So what I would like you to do is rewrite the quotations using the flowchart to help you. So you need to start off with a phrase that explains what is happening. So after the robbery, after the conversation with Fagin, during the fight scene, following on from Bill finding out about Nancy before murdering Nancy. Then you need to mention who says the quotation or who it is about. And then you need to make sure your quotation makes sense as part of your sentence. We've written loads of examples of embedded quotations in your books, so feel free to flick back and use any of those to help you. Pause the video and rewrite the quotations 1, 2, and 3 using the flowcharts to help you and making sure that each step is now included. Pause the video and do that now, please. Okay, if you're back, that means that you are ready to mark your embedded quotes with your purple pen. They may be slightly different to the ones I'm about to show you, depending on how you introduce them, but it will give you an idea if the ones that you have written are correct. So for number 1, I have written when Bill threatens Nancy and explains what's happening and who's involved, Bill took hold of her arm and squeezed it. For number 2, I've written when Bill realises what has happened, Bill reached across the table for Fagin's neck, again explaining what is happening and who is involved. And number 3, when Bill is shouting at Nancy, Bill yells, "Keep quiet, girl," explaining what is happening and who says the quote. If yours don't look something like this, pause the video now and make some purple pen corrections. If you're not sure if your embedded quotes that you've written are correct, just email me and I can check those for you. Pause the video and make any corrections that you need to now, please. Okay, if you're back, that means you're ready to move on. So what I would like you to do is to go back to your assessment and make sure your quotes look similar to these 3 examples here. If they don't, you need to rewrite them using the flowchart. Make sure that you rewrite them in purple pen. You can either write them on the assessment or you can write them underneath today's date and title, whatever is easier. Pause the video now and use your purple pen to make sure your quotes in your assessment look like these using this flowchart. Okay, if you're back, that means your assessment now should have been improved with your purple pen with perfect embedded quotes that look similar to this. I look forward to seeing those. Okay, and one of the other things that we need to talk about is our SPAG, our spelling, punctuation and grammar. So there was a few words that I saw that we spelt wrong. Sykes, violent, conveys, reveals. And what I would like you to do is I would like you to copy these words 3 times in purple pen under today's date and title. So copy Sykes 3 times, copy violent 3 times, copy conveys 3 times, and copy reveals 3 times. You might be thinking, well, madam, I spelt those right anyway, so I don't need to write them. Yes, you do. I want you to write them 3 times so you get some really good practice and make sure that you can remember how to spell each of these words. Pause the video and copy these words 3 times in purple pen under today's date and title now, please. Okay, if you're back, that means you have written these words out 3 times and you are ready to submit your work. Please make sure that you send it to my email by taking a picture. And I look forward to seeing all of your excellent work. I will see you in tomorrow's lesson.